Shalom, shalom. Yasharal is your brother Ayenya out of HOYATL, Atlanta chapter. You know, might as well call it HOY Georgia. You know, everything is doing good. We had the closing of feast dedication, and all praises to the Most High. We in this, was in the spirit of Judas Maccabeus, and when he got free, when they liberated themselves from Greek persecution, right? And we already know that the Grecians are the so-called Edomites, which are just a different branch of Edom from the Romans and the Khazarians, right? So I'm going to go over the similarities between how Rome fell and how America is falling right now, currently. Babylon the Great, right? So let's just fix the screen pretty good here.
But nothing lasts forever. In the 3rd century AD, civil war engulfed the empire. Chaos.
Okay, Esau. All right.
Chaos and corruption undermined.
I'm gonna start from the beginning, right? Because the beginning is really good. Let's see. I want theater mode. There we go. All right. And what else do I want? Right. So let's start this
from within, and from every direction, its enemies gathered for the kill.
All right, let's start.
Rome's glory shone for 1,000 years. But nothing lasts forever. In the 3rd century AD, civil war engulfed the empire.
Right, it says in the 3rd century, right? 300 years after the death of Hamashiach, right? Civil war started happening. And you gotta understand, when you deal with Babylon the Great, Hamashiach was crucified here as well, right? There's nothing new under the sun. And we like almost full, I believe exactly, or almost 400 years into this persecution. And Christ was crucified here as well. And then you have at the beginning of the documentary, them saying that there was civil war. And when you deal with America right now, it's a certain thing called a Civil War 2.0, right? And you'll see these heathen, man. These heathen are riled up, man. It's called a Civil War 2.0, right? And this might be a long. I think this is going to be a long series. Might be a series of just me like breaking down a good understanding of how Rome fell and how America is falling right now, right? And Esau, he's just going in like this is new, this is fresh, right? And this is one that really started kicking it off. This video, right? And maybe I can find it. with the Trump supporters. Slovakia. Give me a second. Right, they was talking about it, man. Here we go. TBS. This is news, man. This is live on the news. These people talking about a civil war, and it just showed you in the beginning of the fall of Rome, civil war. Man, oh man, right. Let's just take it.
Smoke deep right field. Acuna, they made him mad.
He's not going to be removed. He's not going to be removed. He's not going to be removed.
You feel confident in that?
Not by me. My 357 Magnum is comfortable with that. End of story.
And they remove him in a sense.
And you know, Esau, man. When it comes down with Esau, you know, Satan is really divided against Satan right now because Esau really loves his guns, and he even was like, "Yo, you remove Trump, yo, my 357 is comfortable that you won't do it, right? Because these devils really riding for him, man. It's almost like it's almost like the fall of you know, Julius Caesar, right? So when he died, when Brutus assassinated him, that's when a lot of civil war started happening in Rome. But when you deal with Babylon, you know, I don't really know what type of spirit is, you know, Trump putting on some of these heathen, man. But you see Jake out here, man, like a regular old Grecian, and he's going to say a statement that's very, you know, it's very straightforward.
I think it'll cause physical violence in this country that we haven't seen since the first Civil War. I think it'll become the second Civil War.
So he's talking about a second Civil War. And when you deal with the fall of Rome, it said there were multiple civil wars, like multiple of them. So multiple civil wars in Rome, and how it fell, I can see. When you go deeper into the documentary of how Rome fell, you're going to see a lot of similarities. We're going to get into that. But right now, you already see unrest with the people and civil wars. It's nothing. Ecclesiastes 1:9, right? The thing that has been, it is. That which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. There is no new thing under the sun. It's nothing new, man. It's nothing new. They talking about civil war back then in Rome. They talking about it now, right?
Chaos and corruption undermined it from within.
Chaos and corruption. Donald Trump is getting it. He just got impeached on what? Donald Trump got impeached on corruption charges or something like that. I'm trying to see what they impeached him on. Here we go. Yeah, it says chaos, corruption, right? Donald Trump impeached on abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. Yo, there's nothing under the sun, man. This has been happening in Rome, right?
And from every direction, its enemies gathered for the kill.
And every direction, you know, the enemies of the, you know, Babylon is going to be against Esau, man, because it says the dragon shall hate the whore, and we're going to get into that, right?
Panic spread as terrified Romans sensed the apocalypse at hand. Rome rose to the pinnacle of its extraordinary power and glory in the 200 years after Christ. It grew until the empire united all lands from Spain to Syria and from Scotland to Egypt. More prosperity, more stability, and more peace than the Western world had ever seen. It was in 190 AD with...
And you know that... I don't even want to get into it, boy. That looked like a Jake, right? So we already know. No, I'm just going up on Spirit here. Right, there's going to be a time. There's going to be time for prosperity, and it's going to be a time for the downfall of the nations, right? And we starting to see the downfall of Esau, Edom, right? This is Ecclesiastes 3 and 8. Right, I'm gonna start at 5. Ecclesiastes 3 and 5. A time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get, a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to cast away. A time to rend. Rend means like rip apart. And a time to sew, which means like knit together, just like when you deal with Northern Kingdom being rended or split apart from Southern Kingdom, right? And the Most High is going to sew us back together when He brings back Yahushua, to bring us back into one stick, graft us into one stick again, right? Everything's for a time, right? A time to keep silence and a time to speak, right? A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. So Rome was in a time of peace. 200 years was the golden age. Like 200 years AD, golden age of Rome. Beautiful. Peace. Everyone loves each other. And friends and packs with all different nations that Romans conquered. The nations have benefited off of Rome after being conquered, so they ain't even whining or fussing. They enjoying it, right? So, and you're starting to see that time of peace coming off of America, and it's going into a time of war. And for a minute, in a sense, we had like we ain't really have no real peace, because we always been at other nations' necks, but that's how Rome was. We haven't really seen no real serious great war like World War II or anything like that. So when it comes down to it, we already know a time for peace is slowly shutting up because the elect is being awoken. We already know that the four winds is being held back for our sake, the elect's sake. So whoever the elect is right now, man, they really got to come out, and they really need to start waking up. Right, and we already know, where is it? All right, there it is. All right, that's good. Now let's go back here.
The mad Emperor Commodus that it all started to fall apart. Crazy emperors were nothing new to the Roman Empire. So when Commodus started fighting as a...
Crazy emperors is nothing new in a Roman Empire. Definitely like Nero. Nero was a disgusting, decrepit Edomite, man. Nero was so disgusting. But for example, Trump. Nothing's new under the sun. Trump, man. A corrupt leader. Pretty much everyone that you put in the office is corrupt. Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, you name it. George Bush Sr., George Bush Jr., You name it.
Gladiator and walking around town dressed like Hercules, Romans weren't too worried. They simply assumed he'd be assassinated like so many before him. He was.
And, you know, we're going to get into that, man. Right? There's been assassinations, attempts and assassinations that have prevailed in America. Go on.
Then waited for reason and order to return. It didn't. Civil war broke out as legion fought legion, each trying to install its general as emperor. Anarchy grew. Romans yearned for one of the great emperors of the past to take control. Julius Caesar and Augustus.
Yeah, Rome was hoping and praying that men of old, man, would come back and set Rome in order and restore to its former glory. But you got to get to understand that none's new under the sun, right? Donald Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again," man. Trying to make, just like they wanted to make Rome great again. But instead, they went to civil war, fighting amongst one another. And they were killing one another to set somebody in power, man. And we know that it's going to be a great power struggle within Babylon here. So we don't know when the power struggle will happen. We don't know how, but we see that spirit of warfare coming amongst the beast and the whore and on the face of the earth.
A Hadrian. Instead, they got the likes of Elagabalus, proclaimed emperor by the 3rd Legion on May 16th, 218 AD. Elagabalus was a 14-year-old transvestite from Syria, brought up to worship the sun.
All right. Now, we already know, man, Esau is the most profane person. All right. All right. Show the person, which is, right, a transvestite. A person, typically a man, who derives pleasure from dressing in clothes primarily associated with the opposite sex, right? So what you got now is nothing new under the sun, right? It's nothing new under the sun. You got transsexuals, right? Oh Lord, I am not looking that up. Right? I just want the definition. Good Lord, Esau. Right? The definition. Ugh. A person who emotionally and physically feels that they belong to the opposite sex. Right? Or a person who has undergone the treatment in order to acquire the physical characteristics of the opposite sex. So a transvestite, he took pleasure in wearing the clothes of the opposite sex, just like a transsexual, they take pleasure in wanting to be or wanting to physically and emotionally act as the opposite sex, like a woman. So instead of getting a man like Caesar, because sometimes, Esau, he's still profane, but there's some what they'll say a manly Edomite, not an effeminate one, even though Alexander the Great he was a warrior, but he was still a damn a sodomite. It was the same way with Rome, man. They got them a damn transvestite to rule them. Right.
At 17, he married a male charioteer named Hierocles, who publicly whipped him. It wasn't the only bizarre ceremony to invade the imperial court.
Oh my goodness. Esau is, it says, let there be any profane fornicator than Esau, man. Like, all right, it says, this is Hebrews 12:16. Lest there be any any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. All right, let's go into where you at? Right here. And this word is bebelos, or bibelos, but it's bibelos, right? Permitted to be trodden, by implication unhallowed, right? But really what it is now I want the word profane, so lock here. I want the word profane. And Esau's getting whipped. He's getting whipped. Pornos, right? Is nothing new under that's the spirit, because I just saw freaking I think it was a porn website, but look, pornos. That's why porn is a sin. Brothers be, oh, well, porn is a sin, right? Pornos. A fornicator, man who prostitutes himself, right? This transvestite was such. He married a man and had him whip him. Like when you deal with the other word where it says he's trodden down, you number one, you're a prostitute. You know, sold yourself getting done in by a man, right? And it just showed you it's nothing new under the face of the earth. It's nothing new under the sun, right? So it's akin to porne, right? And porne is like a prostitute. And when you deal with, you know, porn, those are nothing but prostitutes. And if you look at them, it's like, you know, if you Lord already said, if you lie with you know, basically a prostitute or a harlot, y'all one flesh, and you looking at people having sex together, you watching another man do his wife, really, in actuality, according to Yahushua. And that's against the Lord, man. That's against the Lord. And you seeing fornication, you looking at adultery, you looking at fornication, because you don't know how many men have been with that woman. Like, you see this woman with 20, 30 different guys in each video. You watching all types of fornication, man, and wickedness, right? So pornos, you know, that's on homework. That's why you go into the Greek sometimes. You go into the Strong sometimes to go into certain things, man. So this is why I feel like this is needed. I'm very sure this is really going to be a long series, right? The fall of Rome, and I might say the fall of Babylon. I'll try to name it.
In honor of the sun, Elagabulus sometimes walked backwards through the city, carrying a large black stone. Romans looked on, stupefied. When he finally announced he wanted to be castrated, it was the last straw. His own palace guard killed him as he sat on the toilet. Then
Yeah, man. Yo, man, his own palace guard put him to death, man. Right? Put him to death because, and that's the spirit of these sodomites in America, man. You down here in Atlanta, man, Atlanta is Sodom and Gomorrah, man. You want to put Jake to death, man, and Esau to death because of just the wickedness that they do. And this dude wanted to get sodomized, right? Or well, it's like he already been sodomized by his husband, right? He wanted to get castrated, and that's against the law, right? Right, here we go. Boom. Right. Take heed, Israel. All right, this is Deuteronomy 23 and 1. He that is wounded in the stones, which means your balls, right? Your nuts. Or he that hath his privy member cut off, right? Shall not enter to the congregation of the Lord. Right? When you deal with these transsexuals, these transvestites, yo, Caitlyn Jenner cannot enter because I think he got his privy member. But if you're transsexual, you transition and you got your balls and your penis removed, according to Deuteronomy 23, you can't enter in the congregation of the Lord. You gotta be cut off, right? You can't enter, or you're supposed to be put to death. Well, not really put to death, but in a sense, these sodomites who are doing that, they really, you know, uh, putting the stake in their own grave, man. Putting their own stones on their own grave, man. When they go through these medical procedures to get they privy member cut off, right? And they're doing this willingly. Like, this might happen in war. You might get your thing cut off in war, and they're just like, yo, we can't let you be around. Dudes is doing this for fun. They think it's cool. Oh, you're 6 or 10, you're 13, Billy. Go get it cut off, be a woman. Nah, man. Yo, even the ancient, and you starting to see Satan against Satan, man, right? I might need to get that scripture too. Um, uh, just like now, man. Satan is divided. You know, that's why Yahushua is the ultimate. He's Emmanuel, man. He's God on earth, man. He's the prophet of prophets, man. The kings of kings, the prince of princes, right? But I want to get straight down to me, right? And this is Luke chapter 11, verse 17. But he, knowing their thoughts, said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and a house divided against a house. It's like, what? And a house divided against a house falleth. If Satan also be divided against himself, which we already know Esau Edom is the seed of the serpent, how shall his kingdom stand? Because ye say, I cast out devils through Beelzebub, right? So even Yahushua knew that, man. And it's funny because this same wise saying, parable, is falling on these Edomites in Rome, and it's falling on them right now, man. You got people really not well, I remember it was Right, you see this? Well, it's just like why people don't accept the LGBTQ community and stuff like that. But I remember it's an article talking about how, yo, Esau really do not like these sodomites. Esau don't like these sodomites in a school. Oh, I think I know what it is. What was it? Because here we go. Here we go. Here we go. This is what I want. All right, this is Birmingham schools stop LGBT lessons after parent protest, right? And we know, okay, with that, Esau might not, Esau might get the balls, man, to really go against some of these sodomites out here. And they're already doing it in the UK. Um, they stopped LGBT lessons after parents protest. And let's see what this was. A primary school that taught pupils about homosexuality as a part of program to challenge homophobia has stopped the lessons after hundreds of children were withdrawn by parents in protest. Like, yo, they withdrew them. I was like, oh hell no. You can see in Rome he slew an emperor because he was a damn transsexual, basically, right? A damn tranny, a damn homosexual, right? Parkfield Community School in Saltley, Birmingham, has been the scene of weekly protests over the lessons which parents claim are promoting gay and transgender lifestyles, right? And we already know that's going on in America. In a letter to parents, the school said, up to the end of this term, we will not be delivering any no outsider lessons in our program term year in our long-term year curriculum plan, as this half term has already been blocked for religious education, RE. Equality assemblies will continue as normal, and our now welcoming no outsiders ethos will be there for all, right? So on Friday, about 600 Muslim children ages 4 to 11 will withdraw from school for the day. Parents said the school would not confirm the number, right? It's probably so many kids that got withdrawn because Esau is just a profane beast, and they're leaving, man. They left. It was like, oh no. And it's the same way with this guard. He just slew it through his head. Look, he killed the man on a toilet. Yo, he slew the dude on a toilet. Hold up.
To be castrated, it was the last straw. His own palace guard killed him as he sat on the toilet.
Yo, he killed the man on the toilet, man.
Then threw his body in the Tiber.
He them dirty. I think. Hold up. What's a Tiber? I think a Tiber is where all the filth goes. Oh no, it's a river in the central Italy, Italy that raises the Tuscan Apennines and flows miles. Alright, Tiber. Okay, so he threw him in a river, man. It's wrong right here. He threw him in a river, man. He said, I'm getting rid of this fool.
Romans wondered how their great empire could have fallen to such a shameful state of affairs.
Yeah, but Romans wonder how could this happen? We were the greatest. How could this happen? How the Most High Yahweh, man? He said that I'm a throw down, man. The Most High always he said I'm gonna throw down on Edom, man. I mean, like, I don't do scriptures a, a lot. Usually I know scriptures, but I know the saying. All right, this is Malachi 1:4. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. They shall call them the border of wickedness, the people against whom the Lord have indignation forever. Right? When you deal with the word indignation, I think that's righteous fervor, like hatred, man. Like the Most High really don't be dealing with them like that. He don't, and Israel be wanting them somehow be all inclusive with Esau, Edom. When the Most High say indignation forever, right? And that's zawam, right? I could go into the other word, but I think it's in the paleo is that. Then let's see. All right, we're just gonna say is zawam at this part. All right, and what it means is to be indignant, enraged, cursed, denounced. We already know Esau got rejected. He was denounced, right? He hates them, man. It's not changing. All right, let's go back.
Some believed it was the long-awaited fulfillment of the Sibylline oracles, a series of apocalyptic prophecies that had haunted Rome for centuries.
And on thee one day shall come, O haughty Rome, a deserved blow from heaven. You will be plundered and destroyed, and with wailing and gnashing of teeth you will pay.
And you, daughters of Rome, clothed in gold and luxury, drunk with the attention of your wooers, you shall be made a slave and a whore, because men forgot the good and gave themselves to greed and unrighteous living.
Yo, don't we? Yo, yo, who, who this? Who does this sound like? Yo, don't that sound like the brothers that be preaching on the corner? Oh, y'all put us in slavery. Y'all gonna go into slavery, man. Y'all Edomite women, y'all whores. Y'all going into captivity, man. Because y'all oppress the poor and the children of Israel. Y'all, the Most High is about to destroy you, man. About to destroy Babylon, man. The Most High had prophets back then, man. It's nothing new under the sun, man. Right? What was that? Wisdom of, I think that's some Wisdom of Solomon, right? Uh, yeah, man. In that day, it's a 5-1. Here we go. Let me get the whole thing. Right, it's the same way in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, man. Right. Let's start at 1. They then shall the righteous man stand a great boldness before the face of such that has afflicted him, and made no more account of his labors. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear. They shall be amazed with the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all they have looked for. They have repented and groaned for anguish of the spirit. Shall they within themselves, that was he whom we had sometimes in derision and a proverb of reproach. Yo, we out there telling them America gonna get destroyed, man. America's not gonna go nowhere. Y'all niggas crazy. Y'all some hobo Hebrews, man. Oh, this them crazy niggas on the corner. Oh, it's them black Hebrew Israelites. Oh, y'all hate. Y'all just mad all the time. Y'all hate. We fools accounted his life madness and his end without honor, man. Yo, it's the same with the Rome. Rome was counting prophetic things said to them as madness until Rome started falling, man. It's the same way, man. Nothing new under the sun.
But there was nothing mystical about the chaos of the 3rd century. Quite simply, the empire had become unmanageable. Emperors could no longer cope with the monster Rome had become.
We tend to get a picture of Rome, particularly through the movies, as being dominated by a bunch of kooks. Yes, Nero was disturbed. Yes, Caligula was an extremely unpleasant person to be around, and Commodus liked being a gladiator and a beast hunter. Elagabalus liked dressing up in funny clothes and dancing around his pet rock. The average Roman emperor is a bureaucrat, is a man who's able to balance the different demands of the major political constituencies within his empire, the army, the guard, the population of the city of Rome, the Senate, and the palace, keeping those interests working in concert with each other so he can stay alive.
After Elagabalus, the best efforts of a succession of hard-working emperors were all in vain. Political power was concentrated in too few hands. The wealthy were forgetting the old democratic ideals, balancing the power of rulers with the needs of ordinary citizens. Rome had turned its back on the common man.
And here we go, man. Rome is turned its back on the common man. Going here, where is it? Right. But ye have despised the poor. Do not rich men oppress you and draw you before the judgment seat? Right, yo, man, it's nothing new under the sun. It's nothing new under the face of the sun, man. Back then, Rome, they used to have emperors who can balance between the top and the elite and the lowly Edomites. The rich and the top end of the elect, right? And the lowly Edomites. Like when you look in California right now, man, yo, people are going homeless. Yo, Esau, that's a quintuple billionaire, right? He don't care. It doesn't affect him. He got untum money, right? Untum money, but amples of money, man. He not worried about the lowly man. You know, Donald Trump, even though he's bugged the hell out, But that's why he became president. You know, he was supposed to look out for the common American, the regular man, the lowly man. But we already know that Babylon the Great has turned their back on Esau Edom. He's trying to take their guns away, right? And that's one of the laws for common man, that they can bear arms, man. And Esau is taking that away. And what they're doing is they dragging these people into judgment seats because the top rich men don't want them to have weapons, right? And I think we're gonna go a little bit deep into this, and then I'm gonna make a second video. I don't want to get too deep into this. I want this to be take a little while, right? In a series, right?
The ancestors of Roman peasants like Gaius led humble but dignified lives as small farmers. But slave-owning aristocrats had commandeered their land and evicted them. Destitute families flooded into the city, swelling the ranks of sweatshop workers and the urban poor.
Now, what happens is the royal areas, they get swept out and swept away. And we see that to this day right now. If I can remember, I will remember because I'm gonna put this video. That Esau that's in the royal areas, you know, Crocodile Dundee, there's no jobs out there. Jobs is running low. Farmers are becoming destitute and poor and in heavy debt, to the point that instead of trying to get out of debt and get free of debt, they just blow their own brains out because they're that hopeless. It is really looking like the fall of Rome, and it's happening. Like, it's really happening to Babylon. And when I saw this, I was just like, wow, it's almost like a mirror, a spitting image, like a mirror image of how Rome fell, right? But a little different and kind of bit of all over the place. So when you have the collapse of a nation, they're going to run to the cities, because when you go to the cities, it's going to be more established than the royal areas, and it's going to last longer than the royal areas. It's going to be more jobs and things like that. So that's why you see a lot of people flood into Atlanta, right? It's a city, but it's a new city, right? Or it's jobs and opportunity. And America is the same way. Babylon is the same way. People go to cities to look for opportunity, because in royal areas or some of these smaller states, they completely are destitute and slowly falling away. No jobs, no factories, nothing. Everything's shutting down. There's rarely any medical hospitals, rarely any hospitals in certain royal areas in America. So it's kind of the same way.
Gaius grew up in Rome doing menial jobs and a lot of drinking. Like millions of poor Romans, he lived on welfare handouts of grain and money.
What welfare handouts of grain? You got Donald Trump talking about he wants to cut welfare, and the statistics that Esau want to give you when he deals with statistics and wants to lie and say it's majority Jake, it's majority Esau. When you see the protests of people that talk about cutting welfares against God, as old white women or white single moms and things like that, which have increased because of the opiate epidemic. They were getting welfare back then, man. It's nothing new under the sun. Jake talking about, oh, get off of welfare. You got food stamps. Boy, I had food stamps in Rome. It's nothing new under the sun, man.
Mindless distraction, lots of it.
The proletariat are idle, lazy, and devote their whole life to drink, gambling, brothels, shows, and chariot races.
Alright, Israel, I'm gonna stop it right here because it'll get too deep, and I gotta prepare for this one because this one's kind of it starts getting deeper, and I need to have be more attentive to what they're saying and reach every point. But with that, this is your brother Ayenya out of HOYATL, coming with you maybe a new series called, the fall of Babylon, or maybe I just call it Nothing New Under the Sun. But with that, I hope you enjoyed staying, all praise to the Most High. I pray that y'all was in the spirit of Hanukkah and not Christmas. And with that, all praises to the Most High and His Son Yahweh Shai. Bless all the brothers and sisters throughout the four corners of the face of the earth that strive for this truth and to keep the commandments of Yahweh, and to wake up the elect so we can get out of here. With that, Shalom.